If I ruled the world, I love them, baby.
Welcome to episode number 17 of If I Ruled the World podcast. And we have on the line our old friend, Eddie Reyes. Hey, Eddie.
What's up? Very old friend. Very old friend.
And I didn't mean it in the way that I said old friend, like you're old, even though you are older than me, I think.
No, we're all old. You're old, too.
See, I don't consider myself old.
Yeah, we're up there.
But I stand corrected, I guess. Where are you right now?
I'm living right now with my brother out in Missouri. He's helping him out. He started a company building houses, so I came out here for a couple months, and then next week I'm going back to Ohio to hang out with the kids and record and jam out with this new band that I started. And, just bouncing back and forth, Ohio and Missouri, I guess.
Awesome. But you live in Ohio or just hanging out in Missouri for a minute?
Living and hanging out, I guess. Hanging out in Missouri for a long time, but I live in Ohio. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I got you. Cool. Because we've been wanting to get you on the podcast for a while. You actually, since the beginning, because you almost always come up. Your name comes up in almost every single episode we do. It's literally...
I don't know why. That's pretty insane. Right?
I'll tell you why.
It is.
Cool.
It's between you and the watch. It's
actually, Anthony Venticinque comes up a lot, but you specifically, because it's like 6 degrees to Eddie Reyes, like considering that some portion of this podcast has to do with Long Island hardcore and, our past and stuff like that. So it comes back. So I want to get to your new band. We wanted to get you while you were on tour. We kept saying a lot of these podcasts we do face to face, and since you had a job change recently, which we'll get into, we figured let's just call you, get you on the phone, and catch up. So what we want to do with you is I sort of want to go back to the beginning because I've heard a lot of your interviews, and you always wear Long Island, with pride, and specifically Long Island hardcore. So I want to go way back and sort of ask you about the beginning of you getting into hardcore and your first band. So let's start there. What was the first band you were in? I think there was something before Mind Over Matter.
First band I was in was a really horrible grindcore band. It was just me and a bunch of my friends from around the corner. We wanted to be like Napalm Death meets Agnostic Front, but we were just the worst band on the planet. And then we stopped doing that. And then I got kind of okay at what I do, and then I met Artie Philly, and
Artie Shepherd.
Started a band called Ninth. Not Artie Shepherd, Artie White, or
right. Okay.
Called now. Yeah, and it was called Ninth Circle.
Oh, that's right.
And then I believe, it's so long ago. I believe Artie came in and with Scott, and then no, I'm sorry, I'm wrong. I'm totally wrong. And then Artie left, and then what's his name? Oh my God, my brain's not working right now. We got another singer,
Mike
and
Richardson.
It didn't work out. And then Mind Over Matter started, and I started jamming out with Artie and Scott and everyone. That was probably a long time ago.
90.
What do you think?
91?
98. Yeah, 90, because the other band was like 89, 90, and it wasn't even really a band. We played like 2 shows, and it was horrible. And
that was right around the time
I feel
Napalm Death, like you said, like Scum, I think, came out in 89, so I guess that was kind of
and we loved Scum, and we were like, let's be like Napalm Death and Godflesh, and it was just, and we had good intentions, but it was just a lot of bad.
Grindcore's a hard.
A lot of bad songs.
And Eddie sort of had this thing back then, where he was one of the only people I knew that liked original emo, like emo from back then, and grindcore.
Yeah.
People might do that now, but he was originally one of those guys that loved them equally.
Yeah. I've always been into like melodic and I was into like Rites of Spring and Embrace and shit like that. And
Rites of Spring is definitely the band I was going to bring up. That's like when I think of emo, whatever it is, it's such a weird. To me, emo turned into like grunge. It's such a meaningless word. But when I think of when I think of emo, I think of Rites of Spring. So that's kind of
it. Yeah. I mean, it was like, for me, it was like Rites of Spring, Embrace, Verbal Assault. Like, I can name a million bands like that were considered what that scene really was. But the genre now is just silly how it's stuck with the name, you know?
Yeah.
Like you said, grunge got stuck with grunge, and I'm pretty sure they hated that, you know?
Well, because you look at the four bands, it's like, you know, Pearl Jam, Soundgarden, Nirvana, and fucking Alice in Chains, and all four bands sound completely different.
George, when did we meet? We met at Sundance.
I was going to ask you about that, because me and you, I remember one time we were talking on Facebook, like there was like a group thread, and we have like a discrepancy on how we met. You were saying like, I don't know, maybe you wanted to beat me up. You thought I was a white power skinhead or something like that. Yeah,
no, I was there with a bunch of my friends, and one of them pointed out, he goes, "There's that white power skinhead kid that comes to shows."
Right.
And, I was like, so are we going to jump him? But we were dumb, you know? But then we actually became friends. So.
Yeah, we became friends because, like, I think I had like that facial recognition of you and people of shows. You know, you kind of know you would wear those like suicidal, like flipped up hats. You know, like the and it fit your look for sure. And I had like, I mean, you know, I was not a white power skinhead, but I know I looked like one. I was like, you know, blonde.
That's how me and Joe Rubino met. Joe Rubino from
Tension.
Oh my God. Yeah, Tension, and what his new band. I'm trying to think of
the Ice Cold Killers.
Yeah, that's it. Me and Joe met that way at that one venue in Freeport, the Right Track Inn, and I was doing a show there, and he came in, and he was wearing a Fear T-shirt, but I looked at it weird. I didn't realize it was a Fear T-shirt, and I kind of went up to him and started having words with him. But then I was like, "Oh no, I was wrong. You're cool," and then we became good friends.
Well, to your credit, all white people kind of look alike. So what are you going to do?
That's what I keep. That's what I keep trying to tell him.
That's so true. So true.
He's outnumbered today.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, good. Yeah. How do you like that, buddy?
Well, you know,
are you Colombian like me too?
I'm Colombian.
Yeah, me too.
100%.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Colombians to the left of me, Colombians to the right of me.
I'm eating some tostones while we talk.
You know what? You want to know what I made today? Right now, sitting upstairs in the pot.
What's that?
I made sancocho.
Oh my God, this guy is the real deal right here.
I gotta be honest. I don't know what that is, but it sounds delicious.
It's soup.
It is very. It's a stew, basically, just Colombian style stew. A lot of meat and a lot of weird things that you probably don't usually eat.
Yeah. I eat meat.
Nah, it's mad weird shit. I'll tell you a funny story real quick. My girlfriend, I took her to a Colombian restaurant, and I was like, listen, just order what I order, which is like, you know, like the pork loin and the rice and tostones. And she's like, nah, I want soup, but I want chicken soup. And they bring her out fucking sancocho, and she looks at that like there's like a chicken leg flying out of the bowl, and she's just like, I am not eating that shit. I told you, order what I order. So
yeah, that's awesome.
Gotta follow your lead, that's for sure.
That's what I'm saying. But all right, back to Mind Over Matter.
All right, so
yeah,
you were gonna kick my ass. I had no idea. I thought you were cool. But so you guys started this band. Eventually, you asked me to be in it, and we were in a band together for a few years.
Yeah, we were, and I was a horrible guitar player, and you guys were talented. And
I was not talented.
Oh, well, I believe you were talented. That's
I believe you were talented. I mean, there's no question.
It's just me and Artie clash, because you know how Artie Shepherd is. You know, he's a pain in the butt, but I love the guy. So
I think you described him exactly. Pain in the butt, but I love that guy. But it's weird because I've had that question put to me a couple of times, like, what happened? Like, why did you guys get rid of Ed? Like, you know, there was a moment that happened. And I really, for the life of me, I fucking don't know. I remember even we did an episode with Artie Shepherd, and he kind of had a long, drawn-out explanation of it that went nowhere. And I was like, I really don't think – I can't remember exactly what happened, why. And we never, you and I like saw each other after that. I don't think we ever even really talked about it. And then it was like you were on to other bands. We moved on, and that's the nature of bands. It just happens.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, dude. It was so long ago. I just remember me and Artie had a little falling out, and Artie wanted to go one way, and I just was, you know, I don't know. I don't even know what I was thinking back then. And, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, it was weird because everyone stayed close friends, and we all hung out still.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like a breakup where it's like, screw you, I'm never talking to you ever again. It was like next week we're at a show together. So whatever. Who knows? And then I was a part of a great band, you know. And, you know, that's the way I look at it, and it was influential and it helped me to move on to create other bands and make me look at what I was doing and going, okay, I'm not going to do it that way ever again. So let me do it this way. And that's slowly how I went through all these bands I was in. It was like each band was a lesson, a chapter in my life, you know.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's the best. The best way to look at it. I mean, you know, nothing's ever easy. Growth is never easy. But when you learn how to do something through a painful experience, and bands are just filled with painful experiences, especially think of like 18, 19-year-olds all together, all in a pack, trying to figure out how to do something like this that complicates art and ego and trying to make this crazy underground music. You make weird decisions. Yeah. You know, I almost never judge people how their inner band dynamics work in the same way I don't treat how relationships work, because it's like you're not there and it's confusing. So it is what it is.
Yeah. And it's always changing and reforming. Like, I mean, I just parted ways with a band that I was a part of for 20-something years, you know, and it's just how it goes, you know.
Right.
And now I'm on to a new chapter in my life. So, I mean, so you got to look at it. I just love playing music, and on top, I'm just like, I'll always be that DIY kid, you know, growing up playing shows in basements and VFW halls, and back then you always were hungry to do something, you know. So I still have that, like that energy, like that soul inside me that keeps me like, well, that's done. Start another band, you know. Let's do this, let's do that, you know. So like, that's just basically how I look at it, you know.
But that's why you come up on this podcast, because you've been just a part of a lot of people's lives. And then especially as one of the biggest bands that ever came out of this area, especially from our music, you guys always came back, sort of reached back in, helped a band out. I mean, you even helped one of my bands back a few years ago when you played the Paramount. And we
did what we can.
Yeah, every band says they will. And let me tell you something. They don't. And I don't blame them, because it's not that easy. You have your own rise to worry about. There's so many things. So like for doing that and just for, you know, always, especially in your interviews, and you always sort of like, you know, gave the island props, and it was never anything where like, oh, I'm done with that now. And that I think you've gained you know, for your decades of doing this, like a lot of respect from guys back here.
Yeah, I mean, I always had that sense in my mind that if I got a phone call that was like, yo, we need you back here to help us do this, or help this person who's in trouble from the old days and from the old scene, I'll fucking jump in a plane or a car and go, you know, like that's just my attitude, I guess, you know, like the way I look at Long Island and the people I grew up with and the scene that I was a part of, and that I helped create with many other dudes and you know, just people, you know, like that's just, I guess, the pride and the dedication you have, and you like, doesn't matter where you are, you'll always be a Long Island hardcore kid, you know.
Just out of curiosity, after Mind Over Matter, what was the band that you started next?
I started a band called No Thought, and it didn't go very far, because everybody wasn't serious, which is understandable. They weren't, not that they weren't serious, they just had other things in their lives. And then I started a band called CLOCKWISE.
Okay.
Yep. And that took off, and I was in a band with my best friends, you know, like just the same as Mind Over Matter. And we were hungry, but back then it was different. It wasn't like it is now, you know, like we played our shows up and down the East Coast and stuff like that. And I think we built a name for ourselves, and then we parted ways, and Phil went on to do Type 11, and stuff like that. And George went on to General George went to go start like label and all that stuff.
And he recorded.
Recording
recording
bands.
was his big thing. George Fulham, General George.
That's right. Working for
George was doing a studio, and we did pretty good. We shot a video. It was hilarious, and we had fun doing it. We put out an EP, and then after that, I believe, just jammed out with a couple people here and there, and then I started a band called The Movie Life. And I remember I was in the process of starting a band, and I saw Vinny Caruana sing backup vocals at a show, and I walked up to him and I said, "How would you like to start a band with me?" And he's like, "Yeah." And then that's how we started. And that band went on to be what it was, and unfortunately, it didn't work out between us. And I wanted to go in one way, they wanted to go the other way, and yada yada. And I said, "I'm going to go, guys," and let them do their thing. And then I started Taking Back Sunday, and that was in the band for 21 years.
What about Inside? You were in Inside?
Oh, Inside, duh. I totally forgot about Inside. Oh, my God. Mike Malamo's going to give me shit now about it. That's all me and Mike Malamo. All me and Mike Malamo do is give each other shit on Facebook. I love it.
Sounds about right.
Well, Inside was around the same time as Clockwise.
Right.
So Inside was another big part of my life. Yeah. And we were going for like that melodic, heavy style, sunny day style. And I just decided to choose one band over the other, and it was just for the best, I guess. Like, we all were still close friends, and they got this guy, John. Is it John? John.
Florencio.
Yeah, Florencio.
Florencio, right? Yeah.
Yeah, John. But then I went on and stayed with Clockwise, and we did our thing. And geez, wow. Inside.
But what a weird thing, like, something's becoming clear to me right now. It's like you sort of have a talent for picking people, even in a way, if you think about it, singers. Like, you went to George Fulham. You went to me. You went to George Fulham. You went to Malamo. You went to Vinny Caruana. And you sort of pick people who aren't necessarily going to do it, and then they do it. Antonio and then Adam. So look at you. What are you wasting your time being in bands for?
Like Mike Malamo was just I should have started a talent agency instead of music.
You were like the original Simon Cowell.
That's hilarious.
Simon Cowell.
Oh, should have did, right. But like Mike Malamo, he was like, I don't think he was interested either, but he had such a great voice, and he was a good friend of mine. So he became the singer of Inside, and then so on, and then Adam originally. We lost our bassist, and when we played a show in North Carolina, somebody's like, "I know a kid who plays bass," and we went to Waffle House afterwards, and Phil Hanratty was filling in that night. Actually, Phil's the one who introduced me to Adam, and I met Adam, and then Adam came up to New York and was our bassist. But then he was just a better, he had more energy as a singer,
right?
And I was like, put down the bass and sing.
See what I'm saying?
And then he was like, "Well, what do I do?" I was like, "Go fucking crazy, break shit," and that's what he did. So that's how it happened.
That's amazing. So I mean, just for the record, I mean, what happened with Taking Back Sunday?
Man, it's there's a beautiful life with music, and then there's a dark side. And from just the years of touring and not being around my kids as much and seeing them grow up without me always being there in their lives. And it kind of broke up my family and broke up my marriage. And it turns, demons can take over your life. You know what I mean? That's a real thing.
Yeah.
And, I became an alcoholic, alcoholism, and I became withdrawn from everybody. Any person I was friends with, it was either I went and played a show and then I would disappear and go drink myself to fucking oblivion. And it was just a lot of inner demons. And they had my back for such a long time, and they supported me. But it comes to a point where it's like, all right, you walk away from something that you love, and it's hard for them to let you go because they love you and you love them. but you have to go fix your fucking life, and you got to go take it seriously. You got to go to rehab. You got to go get a sponsor. You got to go to AA and all this stuff. And that's what I did. You know, we just decided to go our separate ways. And I love the guys. I mean, I'll always be, to me in my heart, I'll always be there, you know, but there's 21 like great freaking years for me.
Yeah, that sounds like,
but again, it's
success.
just, I battled addiction, and I'm sober. My sobriety is strong. You know, I'm a regular at AA meetings. I started a band with 4 other professional older dudes like me who have gone through the same thing, and we've decided to start this new band, and we're really excited about it. We have a name, but we're not really releasing the name yet. Like, we wrote like 7 songs so far, and we're going to go record it, this month, and hopefully be back on the road again, back on my feet, you know?
It's super hard. I have, like I said, I have 19 years sober. So
that's awesome.
I definitely know how hard that is. And the thing with alcohol, like, alcohol wasn't my thing, but the thing with alcohol that makes it super hard is that it's so accessible and like acceptable. You can go into a 7-Eleven, you can go anywhere. It's not like you're like copping, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just there.
Right.
And I always like...
It's a thinking disease, you know? It's a thinking disease, and that's what I'm learning through AA and through my sponsor. It's like, there's more shit there than me being addicted to the chemical of alcohol. No, there's underlying issues I have from the past and through the years of touring that have built up, and it was just time for me to bow out of that situation and support them and let them move on and carry the name and do great things. And hopefully one day I will join them again on stage. Who knows? But right now I'm just doing me. That's why I'm in Missouri. I'm doing like this whole, I'm going to move out to the countryside, live with my brother and build houses and
cool.
Just whatever. But,
building houses building houses sounds like a great thing to learn. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's kind of like one of those B plans. Like if I could take a month off and go learn something like that, it's something people will always need a house.
And listen, when the shit goes down,
and
Trump starts knocking, closing, like, you can build a house.
Can you build a bunker for me and Joe Rubino?
Yeah, I could probably do that.
Perfect.
Joe probably like that.
I'll let him know.
I think it's interesting too, like with bands especially, like it extends adolescence in a way, and it gives you like you can get away with things a lot more. So when you're dealing with problems, and we all have problems, you don't have to deal with them when you're on the road. In a lot of ways, like you can sort of like drink some more. When people meet you, that's their party.
Right.
And so they can be sober for the week and they can go back to work. But for everybody else, it's like it doesn't really fix a lot of problems.
Right.
And I think extended touring, I would imagine, would create a whole slew of new problems.
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, how long ago did you leave Long Island?
I left Long Island probably 10 years ago. I mean, I always went back to visit, family and stuff like that, and I lived in Brooklyn. I came back to Long Island. Not Long Island. Well, technically it is on Long Island, but I was living in Brooklyn for like a good year, I think, because we were writing and recording. Then moved back out to Ohio, and but I'm always. It's not like I'm gone. I disappeared. I've always go back and forth. I always go back and visit. Like, I want to be in Long Island, out in where am I going to be out? Ronkonkoma? No. Anyway, I got like a niece. She's having a big graduation party. So I'm going there for like 4 days with my kids and do that with family.
What was it about Ohio?
And I mean, Ohio, believe it or not, I was really, I had a pregnant wife, and she wanted to go back to where she grew up at the time.
Okay.
So I was like, what do you do? Of course, let's go back to where you grew up and raise our kids. And that's how I ended up in Ohio. And I love it. It's no different than Long Island, just a couple $1,000 cheaper. It's got a great music scene, great history in hardcore and all that. So it's like, I can't complain. But Long Island is still Long Island. The funny thing is that when I talk to dudes from Cleveland or whatever who are in hardcore bands and stuff, they always talk about Long Island. Oh man, Long Island seems sick. I'm like, yeah, I know. You ain't got to tell me.
my best friend moved out to Cleveland. His name's Bob.
Yeah.
Bob.
Yeah, Bob.
Yeah. So that's who I grew up
Yeah.
with. And we
always made plans to hang out, but he's always busy, so it never happened.
Well, he's busy saving animals. But same thing with him. Like, he met his wife on tour with From Autumn to Ashes, and then from there, I guess they just stayed in touch, and then moved out there and just never came back. He lived in Brooklyn with Tom from Indecision, and then he left me. I was like, what the hell? I'm like, but he loves it out there. So
it's not a horrible place. Trust me, it's really great. It's a great scene, man. Like, whenever I had a chance to go to shows, I go, But
what are some shows?
Like, again, it's not going to be where I came from. So, a lot of. And it sucks because there were so many great reunion shows that happened in New York and Long Island that I missed because I was living somewhere else. So that's the only thing I regret and I'm bummed out about, but.
What are some ones that you could think of? Some reunions that you missed?
Well, I didn't get to see Quicksand play. I didn't get to see Sound Majority play. Texas Reason played some shows. I didn't see them. Just a bunch. Like, I think Dag Nasty played a show in New York I missed out on.
Yep.
The Silent Majority ones were good, and for the fact that they were finite. There was 3 or 4 of them, and then there was 4, and then that was it. Like, there's been plenty of reunions that just keep happening. So after a minute, including my own band, like, it just at some point, it's like, what's the?
And I watched yours. On YouTube, so it's not like I'm not there. I'm just not there physically.
YouTube's way better.
So.
Way better. YouTube,
Yeah, I'm up to. I think I've seen Quicksand 8 times already since this reunion. So
yeah, it's not like the one.
Man, screw you. The last time I saw Quicksand play, actually, you know what? I'm wrong. We finished out our last summer tour 2 years ago in California, and we played. Quicksand opened up, Get Up Kids. All the great bands played, and it was so awesome. And I remember that night I was such a kid, like running around. I had to be the annoying Punisher, like punishing everyone. And
we love the Punisher.
And then we played. And then what happened afterwards? I got fucking sloshed and passed out on the tour bus, and I missed everything. That happened afterwards. So it's like, that's my only experience of being able to see bands I haven't seen play in a long time that I played with or that I admire and.
So it only makes sense to me that you still sound like me, like just a super fan of music. So the fact that you're starting a new band just makes sense to me because it's something that you just, like people that just love music like as much as we do. I think it just makes sense. So I guess the new band's got you charged up.
Yeah, it does. It's brought back an energy. When I parted ways with TVS a couple months ago. I'm not going to lie, I was in limbo, and there was a part of me that was like, wow, I'm 45 years old, and I think this is it. I think I'm going to be starting a whole new career, building things, and not being involved in music. And then I said, nah, I know a guy back in Ohio that is a great musician, and he's busted his ass, and I hit him up, and then he hit up another friend of ours and another friend in Philly, and, we're all getting together in May and just working hard on this EP we want to put out, and then start touring. And it makes sense because a lot of them are sober, and a lot of them, we all have kids, so it's not like you're starting a band with young people and you're young and stupid. Like, we're just a bunch of mature, we know how to do it and what not to do, and that's what to me is exciting, is well, I actually know what to do now, so let's do it.
Yeah, I'm like,
even with TBS, there was moments where I didn't know what I was doing, so it's just
Yeah, like in the beginning of the episode when we're talking about every band brings pain and then change, here you are starting a new band. Yeah. Through pain, it's change, but I know you can't say the name of the band. You've made that clear, but can you say who's in the band? Is there someone we would recognize?
Probably not. I mean, Javi, this guy who plays drums, Javi, he's been in a lot of bands. Mm-hmm. Newer. Like, he's probably the younger one, but he's not that young. He's got kids and stuff. But he's been in a lot of couple bands. He's been in a couple of Christian bands too. He's a really great drummer. This guy Randy from Philly, he sang in probably bands you never heard of. My friend Mike, it was in this band called this hardcore band called Heartsick, and a bunch of other bands that did well in the upper area of Michigan and Ohio and stuff like that. And he also filled in drums for, it's not like people that are like, it's dudes that have done it for a while and
right. But just to be clear,
works out, and we're all happy and excited to do it.
That's your whole trajectory. And this guy Randy, your singer, I'm sure he's gonna be phenomenal.
Yeah.
Because you picked him. That's how this works, Eddie.
Yeah.
You've been doing it for 3 decades
it's
now.
I'm so excited because I send him a song and he reworked it. And he's like, I hope you don't mind that I reworked it, and this is what I put down. And and I was like, this guy's gonna be my singer. Like, he sounded like, I don't know. It's like, I can't even explain it. It's like a mix between Chino from Deftones mixed with who knows what, but it just sounds really good. Like, we're going for a heavier, darker vibe, like a kind of like Quicksandy Deftones kind of vibe. So,
nice. Yeah,
awesome. It works out, and I'm excited. So I just.
Coming from,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, coming from like what we're so used to, and obviously like I've never been in a position where I could mail out tracks because everyone I play with is usually, local. Like, what's that dynamic like? You just, I'm sure being in TBS, you guys were doing the same thing because you guys weren't even living in the same state. So,
right.
Is it
yeah.
like, it's got to be different, just send out an idea and then like everyone just gets it and then sends it back to you?
And you know what? Check this out. This is the cool part about it. When you get together with dudes that you're in a band with and you write songs together in the studio for a couple months, you end up fighting a lot and your ego comes out and songs end up falling apart because everyone wants it their way. But this way, it's like, all right, I'm sending it out and I'm open-minded. And now I got my buddy Mike and Randy sending me back shit and go, hey, we kind of reworked it. Tell me what you think. And I listen to it and I go, holy shit, it's great. I love it. The old me would have been like, nope, that's not the way I wanted it. Screw this, and like, that's how I know I've matured a lot. And I'm more open-minded now. And I think writing songs and not always being around each other it works out that way,
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting one because I think I'm still stuck in the old Ed phase then. Because anytime somebody tries to change something, like our drummer was trying to get he's like, we should cut this one chorus out, and I'm thinking like, why the fuck would we ever cut the chorus out? I was just like,
right.
what are those situations that I was like thinking? Yeah, but like, I don't know, maybe one day I'll mature like that.
But yeah, it's. Hopefully I could do another podcast with you guys, and I'll send you some shit and and whatever. I mean, I want to tell the name, but one of the guys in the band's like, well, we just wait until we really get the ball rolling.
I think
so I'm like, all right.
I think it's a good move. I think it's just I don't know, like at this point, like everything is so out in the open, like, fucking Twitter, Instagram, everyone's like taking pictures of everything. Everyone tells all their shit. I mean, like sometimes we post pictures of guests that we're not even posting because we're so used to it. But when you hold it back, and you know what's another fun model? I'll tell you. I was listening to Spotify, and to me, I don't really know how, like as far as the marketing goes, but like you take a band like A Perfect Circle, and they released, before they released the album, they released a single. So I'm listening to it. I'm listening to it on Spotify, and I'm soaking it in because by the time they released the second single, the first single's already been out by like a month, and then from there they released a third single. And in my head, I'm thinking like by the third month, I'm thinking like that's super smart because if you release a full length, like some people just can't absorb it anymore if it's on Spotify. It's so easily digestible and disposable that. Like I like that format. Like you're basically building up this anticipation, and then 3 months into the singles, they put out the record, and by then you're just like kind of salivating for the other like 7 songs. So,
and I don't want this to come out wrong at all or sound bad, but the new generation absorbs music differently than the way we did.
Yeah. Of course.
So you gotta feed it to them a different way, and I think that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna put a song out every every month, and then eventually put the EP out and be like, ta-da! Even though you probably already download the whole thing, here it is. Like that's our idea. That's what we want to do.
But you're in a position you've actually been on a high level. Like you started from the underground, which most people don't. You did, and you played every basement and backyard, and really grew your band organically, even before Taking Back Sunday, like plenty before. Then even with Taking Back Sunday, so you've seen this evolution. You've been through it. You've been through Taking Back Sunday back and forth with band members too, and how to do it. So to start a new band, you must have a lot of ideas on how to do this differently today, even more so than a younger kid growing up, just being like, grew up on Instagram.
Right. Yeah, you're right. I mean, I did. I know now. I know how to do things the way I think I should do them now. You know what I mean? And when younger guys, I'm open online. Like my Facebook is open to the public. I'm not fucking.
Right.
I'm not walking around like, you can't talk to me. I'm better than you. No, I'm not. I'm a fucking schmuck that likes good bands and horrible bands. But
that likes emo
young
bands
kids
and bands.
I listen to fucking. I'll listen to Sunday Real Estate and then put on freaking Phobia. That's how my brain works. That's I'm not bipolar at all when it comes to music. But I had this kid the other week, asking me all this advice, and he hit me with a personal message, and I just gave him all the advice I could. I hope it helped out. And I told him, I was like, listen, it's not gonna get handed to you on a golden platter. Bust your ass, go play the basements, go play the VFW halls, so what if you have to go play the bar in front of 5 people? Do it. So what if you got to go tour in your mom's minivan and sleep in a Walmart parking lot? Do it, that's how you learn. That's how you absorb shit. And don't think your fucking band is better than anyone else. Absorb the bands around you too. Take their demos, take their whatever, get influences, that's basically what I told the guy,
There's a lot of value in that. I mean, you sort of personify that, and again, that's why there's a lot of respect. You said in the beginning, I don't know why, when I said it's 6 degrees to Eddie Reyes, this is why no one dislikes you or says Eddie Reyes, you're the rock star. Yeah. Those two words don't fit in the same, sentence, but there's a lot of value in that. And I think that's always the way, even if you sort of play a lot and your band doesn't get somewhere, you get better. Right. It's that, pain through change. Yeah.
And you've seen...
it would be nice if my band did do well, but I'm never going to be at the level I was when I was Taking Back Sunday, and that's okay. I'm proud of that. I'm proud I've accomplished that. I'm proud that I got to be in a band with 4 other, amazing dudes, 6 actually, because we have backup players that have been with us forever.
Right.
And it's it's a great experience, man, but here I am, I'm starting over again, and it's okay. I'm happy. I'm excited, I can still take care of my family. I get to be in my kids' lives now for a good amount of time until I really start taking off and touring. And I don't know. I just, I don't know. I always tell people in other bands who are like, you're my idol, you're my legend, blah, blah. I'm like, no. Okay, thank you. But I'm like, always the main rule is keep your feet on the ground and stay humble. Don't let your head get ahead of you, because and I've seen that in this industry, and I've met bands that I admire or who are complete assholes, and then I met bands who are genuine, and it's I do my best to be the old guy and spew out some knowledge, I guess. I don't know, whatever that means.
Yeah, you've seen the music business, from the Victory days to signing to a major, all the way to Hopeless.
Oh yeah.
And how did you see it change from Victory to Warner to Hopeless, as far as the business went?
Honestly, you hear all the horror stories from other bands, and we've had our situation, but I mean, Victory worked really hard for us and worked really hard at putting out great albums for us, and some of those people are still there. You're still hanging out with us. You know what I mean? And then signing over, and then that being said, being on that, indie label that was really did a lot for us, opened a lot of doors. Then we went to Warner, and I was scared to sign to Warner because I'm like, screw this. I don't want to sign. That's all against what my beliefs are. Like, I'm not about major labels, but I was in a band that was growing, and things changed. But Warner kept that feeling for us that we were still that band,
right?
And they had our backs, and they took good care of us, and they had people working with us who were part of the scene, So that was like an easy transition and an easy, and eventually it all burns out, and they had to say goodbye, and we say goodbye. But those people still came down to our shows and hung out with us. We're all family. Then we signed to Hopeless, and again, another great indie with great people. So, like, I kind of feel like Taking Back Sunday's just been blessed with working and dealing with that side of the industry. Now, I'm saying that I'm not trying to sugarcoat it because there still were situations.
Sure.
But the good times overpower the negative times. You know what I mean? So.
Okay. What is it? What is a machine?
The only negative thing really about my life with TBS and all that is that I let myself go and became an alcoholic. And I'm not ashamed to say it. And I'm all about being open about it because if I could help one person battle their addiction, then I'm going to do it. And that's what I'm learning going to AA, besides that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know that anyone could fault you with that. I mean, I know, like just going way back, as far as, alcoholism, is that something that was always with you? Was that a part of your family or?
There was always alcoholism in my family, and I'm not rest my dad's soul. Like my dad passed away, but my dad drank. I had family members that drank, but it wasn't necessarily a thing for me. I didn't start drinking really until my later years, like until my mid-30s and on. Like that's when I became a drinker. Before then, I was like an on and off guy, or back in my early 20s.
I lived with
back in my early 20s, I was straight edge for a year, and then I wasn't,
I lived with you, 46 West Smith Street.
Yeah.
I lived with
yes,
you. I
you
lived in
did.
your house, and I knew your dad. And, condolences, for his passing.
He was a good guy, He was a great guy, but he had his...
I never saw anything.
He had his demons.
Yeah, and I never saw anything. He was a great, great man. He's a great man.
Great guy. Taught me everything I needed to know in life.
Yeah.
I watched my dad die slowly, peacefully, a happy man with a smile on his face. And, he's just one of those guys that, he had his demons, and he was, when you're a kid, you grow up and you realize them, and you say, wow, I'm never going to be I don't want to do that. I want to do everything else he does. I don't want to do that. Right. But then you end up doing that,
Right.
And I just handle things differently, and I... honest to God, genuinely was a pain in the ass at the very end, and it's okay that I parted ways with Taking Back Sunday because God bless their souls and everyone else's souls who had to put up with me. Like George, I'm glad you haven't seen me in the last, well, not now, but what I went through the last 2 years. Like I was a mess, man. And it's okay to admit that, But now I'm not a mess now. Now I'm happy. I'm sober, and I'm Mr. Positivity now, it's like It's weird. Like you really do go through an awakening when you go through when you dig deep into reading the big book, the AA book, and you work with a sponsor. Like you really do find yourself again, and I'm really excited for that. And again, that is what's going into this new band that I'm doing, and just the way I'm looking at life now. And my kids are excited. They're so stoked with their dad. And
are your kids musical?
Yeah, my daughter's really into ukulele, but she's more of the artist, and she's the emotional side of the family. She likes to sit in her room and just draw all day and do anime and all that stuff. My son is the musical one. He plays drums, and he's starting now with bass, and it's really cool watching him. Like he's so obsessed with like old hardcore, like his favorite bands and shit like that. Like he's telling me, he's giving me like. He's singing me lyrics from like Texas Reason or singing me lyrics from like one of his favorite. What the hell is this? One of his favorite songs is a Jawbox song, not Jawbox, Jawbreaker.
Nice.
See, I always think
Boxcar.
I don't have any kids, and I always think like if I had kids, they would like the opposite. So like
right.
Our parents liked the Beatles. I mean, I love the Beatles, but you're going to listen to, start with Sex Pistols and Crank Slayer, and they're going to be upset.
Yeah.
So if we play Sex Pistols and Crank Slayer, they're going to like, what? I don't know, like Miley Cyrus?
Right.
That's probably a dated
Yeah,
reference, but I have no idea.
I grew up being I grew up being the oldest, and my parents had the worst taste in music. So everything I got, I had to get for myself, And it just my parents were like two Hispanic kids from Queens listening to disco. It was fucking terrible.
I was blessed with both. Like I had sisters that listened to, disco and all that, and merengue and salsa, and then I had a brother who was into metal, and basically he's the one who's got me. My brother's the one who got me into what I was into. Like I remember that AC/DC Back in Black blasting from his room when I was a kid, and being like, "Holy shit!" And then I went to Uncle Phil's and got into Dag Nasty and Ignacio Front, all that shit. But no, my son is so into music that he's trying to start his own YouTube page, like his own YouTube, whatever you call it, page or whatever.
YouTube,
and he's reviewing bands, and he wants to review and I'm like, oh, like what kind of bands do you want to review? And he's like, hey, like the Pixies and
man,
Dad, like Quicksand, Agnostic Front. I'm like, damn, I didn't push any of this on this kid. It's like naturally in his blood, and I love it.
Yeah, because the Pixies and Quicksand are two bands that are like so like nobody will ever go to those. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like those are like, and those are like two of my favorite bands ever. Like ever. Those
He's
are
not
two
saying Blink 182 like he heard on the radio. He's saying like something deep. Yeah.
And I don't know if it's because I was blasting some crazy shit driving him to school every morning, but that kid has got so much knowledge in hardcore and metal, and it's pretty awesome. He has a couple of bands that he's like, look, I know these bands suck and you hate them, but I like them, Dad. I'm like, no, that's fine. You're into what you're into.
What's his YouTube channel? I want to make sure we post it.
He only did like one review. So far, he's only done one review of us, and he's talked a couple times. But he's doing more shit the next couple of weeks. But it's called the Hardcore Kid Show, and it has his finger pointing up in the air. He started it, like he named it. So it's like, but he wants to start doing more, and he wants to like interview. And he was like, Dad, I want to get into some of these bands from Long Island. He's like, I know about Glassjaw and I know about you guys and the other, but I want you to teach me about some of the other bands that you grew up with. And I'm like, all right. So like, I'm picking them. I'm going back to Ohio this Friday for 3 weeks to record. And then he's come back here for the rest of summer. And we're probably going to be doing a lot of that, like on his YouTube channel. So, it'll be fun.
I saw you posting something about that. I'm like, oh, this kid's got it made. With Eddie as a dad and the reach you have, But I'm just curious what that's like to be at the level, like playing big shows that you were playing. And do your kids understand? Like, do they get, like, when they see you play, they realize, like, wow, this is different. Kids can get real used to their parents and not understand what's going on. Do they get, like, how big your band was and, like, what you were doing?
Right, yeah. My daughter is always like, yeah, you're cool. She'll go to my shows and she'll sit there and watch me play. But she's more into, like, seeing, like, I took them to go see Thrice and Circus Survive because they begged me. And I took them, and they went insane for that. But then they go see me play, and I look in the side stage. I'm like, hey, guys. And they're just sitting there like, cool, Dad. So I think they understand it, but they don't look at me that way.
Right.
They still think I'm a dork. And I'm like, just the other day, I was like, because my daughter's got like a shaved side head and blue hair and wears combat boots and whatever. And then I'm just trying to explain to her, look, you're into what you're into because of Dad. And she's like, oh, yeah, sure, okay. Like I constantly have those arguments with them. But I'm still a dork, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I think parents' influences hit later on in life.
Yeah.
When you look back and you're like, you know what? Because a lot of the things that I'm like doing now, like I'm like, holy shit, my mom is like living inside of me somewhere. It's like one of those things. Yeah. I'm like, man, I have mom's anxiety. That's crazy.
Yeah, even like the measure of your dad, like how great your dad is. Like we just talked about Eddie's dad. It's like, oh, it's like you realize a little bit later, like you sort of like, there has to be a point that you almost reject, like rebel against your parents. That's just the way it is. Right. And then later you realize like, wow, that was awesome that you did that. You're like, you did that? You sort of get it a little bit later in life.
Yeah.
I'm fortunate right now that my kids aren't really rebelling because there are strangely somehow morphing into what I was pretty much my whole, from their age on to now. And I was just video chatting with them like an hour prior to you calling up to you, us doing this. And my son was like, he's like, look, we're going to Warped Tour. Like, we're sitting there talking about he has to go to Warped Tour. He has to go see this band. I'm taking him to go see Under Oath in Ohio in a couple weeks. And then my daughter's talking to me about, like, the same thing. And it's just kind of cool that I'm able to have these conversations with my kids. And I still am, like, so interested in what they're saying because that's what I'm into.
Yeah, it works. Like, I know completely. Like, if you're going to see Under Oath, it could be completely the opposite, and you can be going to see SoundCloud rappers. It's like, Dad, I want to go see like.
Oh God, I'm so blessed. I don't have to deal with that. Yeah.
I want to go see.
Oh jeez, and like my daughter, when she was young, she was into this Disney band, and I was fortunate enough that the Disney dudes that were in this band loved my band, so we became good friends, and they were actually punk rock dudes, but their jobs were to be this Disney boy band. What and they band? Would send her like
The Wanted?
No, boys something. It was just that bigger band. They broke up a while ago.
Boys to Men?
I'm trying to think of the name.
Boys to Men.
I feel so bad. Not Boys to Men. No, definitely not Boys to Men. Oh my God, what the hell's the name? I'll figure it out and I'll text you guys. But
Okay.
Anyway, they were really cool. My daughter, but now my daughter's all grown up, and I was always like, hey, you remember when they used to call you and sing happy birthday? She's like, shut up. I'm like, okay.
Is it
cool.
Is it true Bruce Springsteen brought his son to see you guys once?
I believe so. Yes, I got his pick. I got his guitar pick as a gift, but he gave it to someone to give to me.
Okay.
Wow.
But I never met him. But apparently, him and Max Weinberg.
Yes, that's right. His son.
Max Weinberg I actually met. He also brings his kid to our shows, and he was a cool dude. I met him briefly at one of our shows.
Do you know what his son does now?
Drugs?
His son's an insane drummer.
Yeah, his son's in Slipknot.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Think about it. That kid used to come see us play, I think, or his other kid. I don't know. Yeah, but it's pretty cool. I think one of the coolest people that he actually came up to us because he wanted to talk to us was Tom Araya from Slayer.
Oh,
and I kind of became,
God, that's
I kind of became like cool friends with him. It was weird. It was like, he would say hello to me once in a while, and then we played in Dallas, and he's like, I'm coming down with my kids, and threw him on a guest list, and got to hang out with him, and he's just a genuinely, like, he made me more humble. You know what I mean? Like, seeing this guy who's a legend, who's retiring now with this big tour, which I'm not going to fucking miss.
I will be there too.
He also kind of influenced me. Him and Zach Wilde influenced me about the humble shit. Like, don't lose your fucking head.
Do you know
Keep your feet grounded? I'm like, no.
Do you know who Zach Wilde's drummer is? He used to be in Trip Face.
No.
Yeah, he used to be in Trip Face.
Really?
Yep. His name's
Shut up.
His name's Jeff Febb.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I had him on.
That's
my other show.
That's awesome. So he plays for Black. He plays for Black Labels.
Black Label Society.
He plays for Black Rebel. Yeah. Yeah. Cool, man.
So Mark told us a funny story on my other podcast about how you guys had to like swap slots with Slayer. Was that true?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's how Tom Araya, we played at another festival, and he came and knocked on our door, and I was like, hey. And he's like, can I hang out with you guys? I want to film something, and I'm a big fan. And I believe him because he wrote about us in his book, that we were one of his favorite newer bands, and his children's or whatever, his kids. And but we talked about that, how they were late because their flight was delayed. So the promoter was trying to push us on stage, because when we were supposed to go on, it was supposed to completely swap, like, to a different style of music. Slayer was the last of the, thrash, death metal bands, whatever, and then they were going to change it over to I hate saying it, emo, post-hardcore punk rock bands. So we were like, so they were like, you guys got to go on stage. And I was like, fuck that. I'm not going on stage. And our poor techs were on stage having bottles getting thrown at them, people booing, like they're rolling out our little gear, and people are chanting Slayer. And I'm hanging onto this pole, I was on a golf cart and I wouldn't let go of it. And I think Mark, either Jamie from Hatebreed or one of those guys came up to us and like giggled and said, good luck. Like, it was the most insane terrifying situation in my life. And just before we went on, Slayer showed up, and we were like, "Oh my god!" I literally went and took the longest shit in the planet, like, and then Tom came up to us like the next festival and was like hung out with us, and it was the greatest thing ever. And since then on, he's been, it's not like my buddy pal I talk to every day, but no,
but still,
he was really, really nice guy to us. Yeah,
it's fun. It's fun. It's fun to grow up with a band like we all idolized fucking Slayer, So like,
who doesn't?
Yeah, to actually meet him and him to be cool.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing. He's like a humble guy, like you said, and like really cool. So I mean, you can't beat that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's genuinely into what you do, which is even weirder.
Yeah.
So it was like, okay, cool. So what do we do now? Hug? But no, I mean, that's the thing about this journey with TBS was I got to see a lot of great places. I got to meet a lot of great people. I experienced so many good things and I experienced horrible things. So I have good memories. You know what I mean? So
you've lived a life that, for failed musicians like me, like I look at, I'm just like, yeah, you did it, man. You fucking did it.
Hey, George was in a pretty big band too, so.
Yeah. Well, of course.
Yeah, we held our own.
Yeah.
But next to take.
Hey, Dana Life was pretty big.
Dana Life.
So don't be modest, okay?
Well, all those years ago. But I love listening to your perspective on things because you must have had 1,000 like meet your heroes moments, and to meet like Tom Araya and be like, oh, he's a good dude. Like it must have been like both, where sometimes you meet your heroes and it's like, should have just stayed listening to the record because they're not that cool. And then other times it's almost the opposite of what you think. A lot of times, right? Right.
Yeah. And it's funny because everyone makes fun of me because of my height. And then when I met him, he was the same height as me. I was like totally stoked.
I think we got ourselves a podcast.
Yeah, we got one question left.
We have one question left. And then I have some comments. Are you down with that?
Okay.
All right. So the name of the podcast is If I Ruled the World. So the question we pose to our guests is, if you ruled the world, what would that look like?
If I rule the world, can I say a bunch of things?
You can say as much as you want.
Okay, there would be every state, every country would have to have a mandatory venue for punk rock and hardcore bands and metal bands to play at.
It's a new one.
Okay. Everyone in the world will go to school for free and get medical for free, get insurance for free. And, man, I don't know. That's a really tough one.
I mean,
I rule the world.
That's a lot.
So far, so good.
Eddie's a philanthropist and a socialist.
Yeah.
I'm getting this. A philanthropist.
Yeah, right. Sure. No, man, I don't know. I mean, I could say all the cliche, cheesy things like there would be no war and we would have no weapons. But,
No, what you did is right off the top of your brain, and that's what we want.
Okay, so everyone has to go to a show at least once a month. That would be the law.
The law is once a month a show.
And everyone's got to give back, and everyone's got to show humility. There you go.
There you go.
There you go. I like
the Führer.
Yeah.
Eddie Reyes.
Yeah.
The Führer. So I want to say...
But yeah, as far as the information for the new band, I'll get that out to you guys as soon as all the rest of the dudes say, okay, it's cool, let's do it,
I would love to do a part 2 because, it's been great to catch up with you, and it feels like old times, to be quite honest.
Yeah, man, yeah. It's hard. It's weird that we live together and we've known each other so long.
Yeah.
You know what? Me and you've had so many good and bad arguments, but we've always stayed close friends. So, like, I would go, 8 years without seeing you and then bump into you, and it would feel like yesterday. Hey, dude, what's up?
Yeah.
So it would be cool to catch up,
I agree. And, it's funny because a lot of things you said tonight, really just on a personal level hit home because of the way I've known you.
No, yeah.
And I live with you. You opened up your house to me. I lived with you, and I couldn't have lived with you and your family if it wasn't for you. And that helped me be in my bands. And then the first band I was ever in, you asked me to be in, dude. Like I wouldn't have been on this journey without you. And then even doing this interview, I wrote to you, and I just wrote you like some simple stuff. And from what you said in that little thing we had back and forth, and everything you said in this interview was like, you're not the type of guy to leave scorched earth, which is really cool. Like, you're out of Taking Back Sunday. We were talking about Movie Life. We were talking about, I even like left you open to talk shit about Mind of Matter, and you have a quiet dignity that does not do that. And like, that's really, really awesome. It's really refreshing. And you said, George, I'm glad you didn't see me 2 years ago. And you know what? I'm glad I didn't. I take your word for it. I take that seriously.
Good.
And I appreciate that we can talk now in the way that we've always talked. And it means a lot to me that you take this interview seriously, that we've been writing back and forth about it. Like, it's just kind of like something that says about your character and personality that this is what it is. It means a lot. And we want to put that out there for everybody.
Well, like I said, I know that I'm completely insane and I do crazy shit, but at the same time, I like to be real and I like to be nice, and I always try to look out for people because that one day it would happen for me, Right. So I don't know. And yeah, man, I appreciate you. I appreciate a lot of dudes that did a lot for me in my life. So yeah, I'd like to catch up. I'd like to do a part 2. Maybe we could do a top 25 argument of the greatest bands of all time.
Now
we could do that.
Now we're talking.
Now
hey, let me tell you something. I'm a total music snob. That's when you're going to see my dick side, because I can argue for days.
I'm going to put it to you like this. Sam has a podcast called Red River Podcast, and they do those top 20 whatever.
We get geeky as fuck.
They get
movies.
geeky. You might have to move it over there because I'm not that competitive with those things, and I'm like, I'll just be like, yeah, you're right, and so you can argue with Sam. So Eddie, it's been a pleasure, man. It's great catching up with you.
Okay.
Thanks so much for coming on.
Well, good.
And we're going to do a part 2?
Yes, we have to do a part 2.
Really want to hear what you're up to next, and I feel a little inspired by this podcast. How do you feel, Sam?
Very inspired. I know you're inspired, but not to do a band because not
at all.
I was going to ask you. I was going to ask you to sing on our new record, but I know you don't want to, so I'm not going.
I'll do backups.
Maybe we'll talk. Yeah, I know where to find you.
Well, you know what, Eddie? Tell Randy I'll do backups on the new whatever thing you're doing. That'll do backups. Things like that. I'll do.
Yo, don't even joke around about that, because I talked to the Mike and the drummer and the guitar player. We're pretty much the guys that started the band. I was like, there's a couple of dudes that I want. Like James DeWee, reached out to me, and he's like, he wanted me to maybe come on his new shit that he's doing. And then I told him, well, you have to come do shit on the CP I'm doing. He's like, I'm so down. I'm like, all right, so maybe James is going to be on there. And George Reynolds wants to be on there. He's going to be on there. And you're going to do those shots, you do well.
Listen.
Very good.
Glassjaw got me a good price. I was on their new record. And for you, I would do it even cheaper. And I'll give you 2 words about how I feel about doing backup vocals on your new record. 2 words. Dead serious. Let's make it happen.
Dude, hey, man. I'll give you $100. Do you like fried chicken? I'll get you a bucket of chicken.
That's 100 times more than I got for the Glassjaw record. So you're ready.
Cool.
All right.
Yeah, Eddie, man. Nice to finally talk to you after being in the same venue with you many times. So
right on. It was good to meet you too.
Definitely, man. Thanks for doing the show, and I guess we're good, right?
We're good.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, brother.
All right.
If I ruled the world, I love 'em, baby.